Sometimes the Kempf family, mom, dad, and all six of us kids would pile into the station wagon to go somewhere. There's a phrase, and maybe this is not a thing that people say anymore, but if you were in our house as we were getting ready to go, if someone said this phrase, you'd likely enough hear a cry of protest. The phrase is, I call shotgun. You'd hear things like, no fair, or you had it last time, or you can't call that until we're outside, right? Now, shotgun was the seat next to the driver up front, and it was the privileged passenger position. You had more leg room. Sometimes you got to control the radio. When we finally got air conditioned, you could surreptitiously aim the vent at yourself. And if mom was the one driving and the streets were safe, sometimes you got to move the lever with the gears while mom held the clutch down. Shotgun was the privileged seat in riding a car. Now, the origin of the term shotgun comes from movies about the Wild West in this country. Shotgun was the seat next to the driver of the stagecoach. To fend off attackers, the person next to the driver carried a shotgun. Now, did you ever notice that was the guy that almost always got killed in the movies? He didn't want to kill the driver first because then the horses would run wild. But the guy riding shotgun, that was the one. Now, for all of us who have ever called out for that front seat when we were young, there is another fact about shotgun that's probably good for us to know. Before the advent of the seatbelt and the airbag, shotgun was the most dangerous seat in the car. If you were in an accident, the person riding shotgun was the most likely to be thrown from the car or to be killed outright by impact with the window. It was the most dangerous seat in the car. In our gospel today, James and John call shotgun. We want our privileged seats. We want our dues. We want our recognition. We want to sit right next to you where the action is, right? Jesus senses that James and John don't really understand what they're asking. So he looks them in the eye and says, in so many words, do you know how dangerous that seat is and what it will cost you? Can you drink the cup of suffering which I will drink? Can you undergo the immersion into heartache and pain that I will undergo? That is what it means to ride shotgun in the kingdom of God. Being willing to choose the suffering that is at the heart of love. Being willing again and again to choose self-emptying love. Then for those disciples and for all who would ever follow him, Jesus reminds us that this dangerous position of shotgun is and always will be about service. He says, you know how their great ones make their importance felt. It shall not be so among you. In those two simple sentences, Jesus undercuts the merit system of religion, that enjoying the good things of life was a just reward, a sign from God that you were living right? Turning that on its head, Jesus tells us that greatness is only measured in service. Those who would ride shotgun in the kingdom of God need to remember that our lives are not all about us. We are part of something much bigger. The purpose and meaning of our lives is to be found in service. And to remember that we will suffer. There is a price to pay for love. For the sake of full disclosure, sometimes I forget this. I sometimes forget that there is suffering at the heart of love. When I am exhausted or discouraged or feel beaten up along of the way, a part of me sometimes gets surprised again. I mean, isn't it supposed to be easier than this? Now, maybe it's partly that I'm getting older and a bit more tired, but I'm like, really? Here we go again? This Monday, during the lunch break at a meeting with some of my priest friends, I heard myself say to them what I had to again recently remind myself. For some reason, for the past 2 months, I've been back to 100-hour work weeks, and I'm tired, and things are just tougher with the pandemic. And when the phone rang late at night for me that past week to be there for someone who was suffering, my first thought, quite honestly, was, is there a way to get out of this? I just need to go to bed. Then I reminded myself, this is what I signed up for. And this is my joy. And it is. Following the way of Jesus, trying to be willing to do what is needed for love, that is my joy. Yes, there's a price to pay for trying to be loving and true, and it's best if I don't forget that. But it is worth it. I'll never be perfect in following him, but it is so worth it to try to live what he lived. The cost at the heart of love is ultimately little compared to the deep peace, the meaning, the quiet inner joy that comes from paying that cost. You and I, who are blessed to be able to be praying together right now, we have privileged seats in the kingdom of God. Are we ready to again call shotgun? Are we ready to recommit ourselves to what the mystery we call love asks of us on love's terms and not our own? It cost James his life, and it sent John into the mission fields of service in faraway Turkey, a long way from the nets and the shores of the Sea of Galilee. Will you and I again say yes this day as they did, without fully knowing exactly what it will cost us, knowing only that it will cost us? Shotgun, anyone?